So now we come to our Muppet of the month, and boy, oh boy, this month do we need a Muppet of this magnitude and with this sort of clarity. Yeah, there is a Muppet here who we have managed to identify.
It's a model of Muppetry.
It is a model of Muppetry. This is a type site, as it were, in more ways than one for Muppetry.
It's
Um,
Muppet. It's Muppet Zero.
Muppet Zero. It's certainly a Muppet Zero. This is the news from Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island, where a truck, um, a flatbed backed truck, as it were, because obviously truck means different things to different people, but
Yeah.
essentially a
A
utilitarian
flatbed,
vehicle.
a flatbed commercial utility vehicle.
There
Yes.
we go. Has crashed into one of their statues, causing, quote, incalculable damage. And to be fair, this article isn't very long, so I'm just going to read it if that's okay. It bears simply reading and commenting on. So, the mayor of Easter Island has called for vehicle restrictions to be introduced around its archaeological sites after a pickup truck, oh, there you go, pickup truck, hit one of the famous stone statues, causing incalculable damage. A Chilean man who lives on the island in Polynesia was arrested after the incident on Sunday and has been charged with damaging a national monument. According to the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio de Valar sorry, Valparaiso. Oh, goodness me. I practiced this, I did before.
Just
Valparaiso.
I'm not going anywhere. Just carry on.
Valparaiso.
Just carry on. Keep
Valparaiso.
going. I'm not going anywhere.
El Mercurio de Valparaiso. There you go. The platform on which the statue stood was also damaged in the crash, it reported. Around 1,000 figures, known as moai, are dotted around the island, which local people call Rapa Nui. Indigenous Rapa Nui Islanders believe the moai carry the spirits of their prominent ancestors, and they are seen as living incarnations of their relatives. The president of the community, which looks after the moai, said the crash may have been deliberate. Blimey. As people know, the moai are sacred structures that possess a religious value for the people of Rapa Nui, he said. Something like this isn't just dreadful, it's an offence against the living culture that has spent the last few years fighting to regain its historical and archaeological heritage. And this obviously plays into broader issues which I'm very interested in, this question of who owns the past and so on and so forth. But back to Muppetry. The island's mayor, Pedro Edmunds, told Peoa, so he told El Mercurio the collision appeared to have been the result of a brake failure. He said the incident demonstrated the need for stricter traffic controls. He previously told the newspaper that everyone had decided against establishing traffic rules when it came to vehicles on sacred sites, but we as a council were talking about the dangers and knew very well that a rise in tourist and resident numbers would mean. He said the island's population has risen from 8,000 to 12,000 since 2012, adding that it also hosted 12,000 tourists per month. They didn't listen to us, and this is the result, the mayor said. Now, this also comes in the context of, interestingly, last June, the British Museum, who we've talked about in a previous segment this month, this is actually a good news story for the British Museum, um, travelled to Easter Island to discuss how to help preserve statues on the island. And this visit came following a visit from the Chilean authorities to London in November 2018 to request the return of a prominent 7-foot basalt statue which at the British Museum, which British sailors removed from the island around 150 years ago. Another decolonisation repatriation request there. Um, the museum said that it's always happy to consider loan requests. Are you really going to loan a Moai statue back to Easter Island? Anyway, Edmonds instead suggested that that the statue could act as an ambassador for Easter Island, and Britain could keep it in return for regular payments to ensure the upkeep of the statues on the island. Fair enough. That's an interesting side note to this act of Muppetry. But there we have it. Someone drove into, seemingly accidentally, although quite possibly the accusation has been made deliberately, into one of the world famous statues on Easter Island. In that sense, the Muppetry is obvious, isn't it? I guess.
Actually, thinking about it, maybe it isn't. I
Do
mean,
you not think? Oh, do
well,
you mean in
in the
terms of
past,
regulation?
in the past, we've covered uh, usually lorries, in fact, failing to get through
Oh,
medieval
actually,
or Roman
so
gates.
there's another complication. Lorry means truck.
Lorry, I think the Muppetry here is the people who adapt the English language to their own local needs and don't bear in mind what we use it for here. We started it after all.
Yeah,
Um, no, so I'm not going to get all colonialist over the English language.
indeed.
Uh,
Well, you foisted it upon us in
okay,
Wales.
yeah, well, exactly. I'm not even going to think of going there. Well, I mean, apart from that, I'd love to go anywhere at the moment. Wales or anywhere else. I mean, the four walls here are getting
Yeah,
rather boring. But no, look. In all seriousness, we've covered the vehicular Muppetry before in terms
yes,
of commercial vehicles hitting medieval and Roman gateways, for example, in Britain. Um, so it does happen, and there's a sort of truism that if you had two vehicles on an island, eventually they'd end up having a head-on crash.
hmm
So because that's the way that's what happens when people drive,
hmm
um, and particularly when people, for example, might drive when they've partaken of certain refreshments.
Yes, yes. Although
And
doesn't appear to be the case here, though.
absolutely, I'm
Mm,
making no accusations here
no,
whatsoever,
no.
but it has been known in the past, shall we say. Um,
Well, although
uh,
interestingly, there is an overlap there, isn't there? In so much as the prominent case of I think the truck that we commented on that squeezed into an archway
yeah.
somewhere in this country. Can't remember where it
It was
was.
Colchester, I think, wasn't it?
Might have been
Was it Colchester?
Colchester.
No, it was Lincoln. Or was it Lincoln? Was it
Lincoln.
Lincoln? It was
Damn it.
Lincoln. It was Lincoln.
A
Anyway,
place with an arch.
a former Roman colonia.
Yes. In that instance, it was it was a well-known hazard, and it was interesting how the authorities were saying, well, really, most drivers around here know not to go through there, but also at the same time, signage was also brought into question. So, I guess there is an overlap there in terms of
As was the
regulation.
spatial awareness of the driver.
Well, yes, yeah, well, yeah, and also, frankly, yeah, I mean, why would you want to take a truck through there and take the risk, you know. But yeah, in this instance,
The sat nav told me go.
yeah, indeed. Right, the sat nav
Actually,
said,
perhaps it was a sat nav problem. Perhaps he was following the sat nav, and the sat nav drove him straight at the
yeah, straight through.
moai.
Well, okay, if you
Moai
say
wasn't
so.
the moai wasn't in the sat nav database.
No, it should have been. Should have been.
Absolutely.
This is a Tom Tom. Do people still use Tom Tom? Tom Tom issue,
They
a
still use that.
GPS issue.
Still use an app, my lad, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, an app issue,
Yeah.
app issue, app
Bless you.
issue,
Yeah,
app
oh
issue.
God, we're not back to COVID again, are we? You
No,
okay?
no. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's
Good, good, good.
apparently sneezing isn't a symptom, incidentally.
I know. It
Apparently,
was a joke.
I know it's a joke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just thought I apologise. And so,
We- we-
as
we- We're not. We are not here to dish out health advice to our viewer. Our viewer needs to go to reputable medical sources for their health advice.
well, this is true. Yes, and we're far from reputable. But as
Speak for
far as
yourself.
as good advice goes and accidents go, this sounds like uh, it sounds like an unfortunate thing that was seemingly with the law of large numbers was bound to happen eventually, by the sounds of it.
You,
So
you, yeah, absolutely, and obviously, in all seriousness, you know, traffic of people and traffic of vehicles is something that people in charge of, these incredibly sensitive World Heritage sites need to bear in mind. Although I can't help thinking, do you remember the old Jasper Carrot Australian insurance claim sketch?
no,
Uh,
no, why?
I
What
was
happened?
driving. It's alleged. excuses given to insurance companies for motor insurance claims,
Okay.
along the lines of I was driving along, observing the speed limit, when the pedestrian jumped in front of me.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was making a legal turn when the building hit me,
Yes, indeed. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
etc., 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 etc.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was observing the drink drive limit when intravenously someone forced me to partake of much scotch
exactly. Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
rum.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, exactly. Much mythology has grows up around people's incidents in vehicles.
Yeah. No, I
I think we
agree.
can
I
say,
agree. And undoubtedly a Muppet of the month. Who
yeah.
knows what the next month's Muppet will be? Again, I'm going to have to work really hard, folks at home, to make Andy not sort of too. I don't because it's not. I wouldn't say that you're. It's not that you're worried or that you're focused. It's just that the pandemic is such a big story, isn't it? It's going to be hard, I think, next month to find probably a
I
lot of
think.
archaeology.
Well, I think. Yeah. What is happening? I think anecdotally from our own experience as a family going through this,
Mm,
but also looking at people's responses. Uh, Basically, all normal traffic, particularly in the media, and obviously we reference ourselves. Perhaps I'm realizing now how much we reference ourselves to what's going on in the outside world.
hmm
We were seeing it a bit with Brexit, where suddenly everything became Brexit related.
hmm
Now, thanks to what's happening, thanks to the social distancing and the lockdown rules all over the world, we're seeing people just looking constantly inwards. And there is nothing going on outside to reference. I mean, just what uh, we took a short break during this recording, didn't we? In a few minutes,
hmm
and we've
hmm
just resumed. And in that half an hour where we were breaking, the news came that probably the biggest cultural event in Scotland, the Edinburgh International Festivals, huge part of the Scottish tourist economy, which happens every August, been
Well, and
cancelled.
well, it's been cancelled, right? Oh, blimey.
Been cancelled. Yeah,
Right. And also, of course, it's a huge venue for up and coming, performers, artists, and
absolutely. It's a,
comedians, and
it's a
yeah,
showcase for everybody in the arts.
yeah,
Basically, it's
yeah,
a huge international showcase. People come to perform from all over the world. People come to visit from all over the world. It's a massive event, one of
yeah.
the biggest cultural events in the country, and it's gone.
Well, yeah. Well, and this is kind of my point. You see, it's not like I want to instigate a COVID-19 swear jar, but but I do sort of wonder what is our Muppet going to be next month? I guess we will see. We will see. It's not like the world is just going to stop for a couple of months, literally stop. So I'm sure they'll be watching briefs for the next couple of months. But we
Okay,
you know, we need to take our Muppets where we can get them, where we can find them.
Absolutely. And I would just like to make one observation based on using in fact, get the swear jar out. I'm going to use the B word and the C word.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
whoa, with a
one of
C
the
word. What's that?
COVID-19.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes.
Oh, what do you think I am? One of the delights, one of the few delights of the COVID-19 crisis has been the watching spectacle of watching the politicians who only a few years ago were saying we've had enough of experts,
Mm,
suddenly quoting experts as the justification for all their decisions,
mm,
even the ones which are now currently going wrong.
yeah, yeah. Well, see now. You see, we're drifting back towards the virus again, aren't we? But I suppose I've taken some comfort in the fact that that actually the weight of reality is undeniable for people who are even the most ideologically driven in terms of decision making and policy. So when it comes to the idea of small government, keep costs small, don't spend a lot on this crisis. Well, actually, I'm sorry, but reality requires it of you, of an economy. And also, I think an awful lot of people are getting a crash course in the difference between one's personal bank account and an
Yeah,
economy.
yeah.
When it came to say the Second World War, Britain took on a huge amount of debt that we didn't pay off until I don't know, was it 1990 something, or you know this is one of those situations, and it's interesting to see that occurring. Now we are getting, this is still the Muppet of the Month section. We are getting a little bit off topic there,
Yeah,
but the point is though, it is everywhere and it's unavoidable. And I think we are going to. Well, shall we sort of shall we spit shake that we're going to do our best for the sake of our viewer to spit shake
yeah.
to 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 to
Look outside the COVID
yeah,
box.
yeah, to look outside that bubble as much as possible in the next I don't know, few months, half a year, who knows? Because there will be stories to talk about, and even I mean, to be honest, I'm even up for potentially even having quiz sessions or something, maybe doing a watching brief live stream one month. We'll see.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, this month the Muppet was clear, and we have very much enjoyed talking about it.